What's up, everybody? Bootsy Greenwood here, and I'm rocking that fresh fade thanks to my boy Will. Really appreciate it. Check out his work at The Kid Can Cut on Instagram. I'm addicted. It's true, and I feel so much better. At the same time, like, here it is Monday. I don't know what day of quarantine or whatever. It's not really quarantine. It's self-isolation, but that we're in. And man, the news stories just keep pummeling, right? My friend just sent me a text right now that's like, the government's releasing UFO documentation. Well, that's funny. I saw another video today that was like warning us about the food supply and that farmers are literally plowing up fields of vegetables and slaughtering animals that are not going to be processed due to some of the things that have happened. So I hope you guys are getting your houses in order. Today I want to talk about where do we go from here mentally, right? And I want to talk about a really, really, really good book that talks a little bit about this. Now, there was a guy named Viktor Frankl, and he wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning. He had an idea called logotherapy. And one of the biggest ideas in the book is he's a big time proponent of free will because he says there is a space between stimulus and response where we choose. No matter what happens to us, see, he was in a Nazi internment camp actually, and he says no matter what happens to us, we still decide how we react. So now's a very important time. And I'm making this video partly because I'm kind of fired up. You know, I've seen a lot of interesting things happen. Weird things are happening on my channel as well as just in general, overall, which is fine. I'm here to talk about what I'm going to talk about. And I'm hoping that all of you guys out there are really listening in here and doing what steps that you personally need to take. I'm probably going to not be in the future sugarcoating things anymore as much, but I think that's a good thing. And I know that if you're still hanging in here with me, then you can handle that. But let's talk about this a little bit, okay? This is where free will is. This is 1 and 0, let's say. Probably it's 0, 1. It doesn't matter. This is a whole, and this is a whole. And this is where we sometimes miss, right? Like earlier today, I was in a discussion with my mom, and she said something that kind of pushed my button. And I was like, I acknowledge that it pushed my button, but I didn't fly off the handle or anything. Now, in the past, absolutely I would have. And there's nothing wrong with getting upset or being angry or any of those things. And we talked about that. But it's about how we handle it, and especially as groups, right? In part, a lot of the stuff that I was talking about in the last video, where I was talking about how disappointed I was that people were going out to protest, is exactly this, right? Do you guys remember The Dark Knight, the movie The Dark Knight, where the Joker's like, and all I do is I just push the other button, and he does. He pushes the button. He knows what the response is. It's already created already, so he knows how people are going to respond. So then he has his strategy on top of that. And that's how we get played as a society and as individuals. That's how we get manipulated. Somebody pushes our button, they know how we're going to react, so they're ready for that reaction, and that's when their plan goes into effect, right? So this is really important to think about, right? The space between stimulus and response, because we are programmed, and we program ourselves, and we're programmed socially as well. And so there's a lot of different factors. So anytime something that happens, and you're like, and you just want to react and come out of your skin on somebody, it's good to take a deep breath, breathe, make sure that you are actually doing what you personally resonate with, what is your part of your credo, and respond in kind that way, right? So stimulus and response, this is like a clamshell opening and closing, and that's how most of us live our lives, right? It takes constant awareness and awareness of attention and attention control to stay present, to stay grounded, to stay in this moment, to stay contained, and to stay on top of situations and not have them roll over us. You know, a lot of me right now is just wanting to kick and scream and throw. You know, I lost a lot of money last month and a lot of money this month. I woke up to an Airbnb cancellation of several $1,000s, and we had a huge 2 months, this past couple of months, planned out, right? I'm not telling this for a poor me story. I'm just saying the position that I'm in, and I know a lot of other people are too. People are losing their jobs. People are losing all kinds of stuff. Some people are losing family members over this, so I get it, you know, but we're all in some trying situations right now. And it's really important to keep in mind that if we react to something, then we're not going to make an informed choice, right? If you have a lot of debt and a bill comes in, and you see that bill and you go, you know, and you freak out. Sometimes you just need to freak out. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm not saying to bury anything deeper into you, but you know, that's something that I personally, it took me a while, but I get a bill. I'm like, okay, cool. I just pay it, or I don't pay it, right? Like whatever. But succumbing to the instant response, this you know, the static, this happened, and then you respond to it. That's playing right into the game of the pendulum, right? And so in order to step away, I mean, it doesn't mean you can't be upset, right? But in order to step away, you've got to move to the side, laterally, this way or that way, and come up with an alternative choice, an alternative idea as far as dealing with it. What are you going to do, right? If somebody says, you can't do this, and then you immediately go, yes, I can, and then you know, revolt or whatever, well, are you not playing right into that trap? Okay. So if you say, oh, I can't, okay, cool. Relax. Try to get relaxed, you know, get upset, let it out, and then relax and be like, okay, what am I going to do, right? So for me, I'm trying to figure that out right now in real time. We've had 2 months now that we've lost, you know, quite a bit of money. This business was my livelihood, the foundation of my life, so that I had 5 different Airbnb units that I was in partner with, renting these out. The spring is the time when there's parents' weekends and all of these weddings and so on and so forth. And so, you know, we had a lot of money coming in, or, you know, supposedly coming in from Airbnb these next 2 months. Well, as it turns out, no. So part of me wants to just, you know, freak out, close the business, sell everything, you know, but that's probably not the best idea. There's probably a better idea, and I'm going to hold out for that, right? Like I'm going to allow the circumstances to be exactly what they are, assess them, and figure out, you know, what it is that I'm going to do. Am I going to stay in this house? Am I going to move? You know, there are a lot of options. There are a lot of different ways to go. What's the smartest thing to do? So I wanted to talk just a little bit about that. The space between stimulus and response. That's where freedom is, right? That's where great ideas come from. And that's where we want to activate the old Care Bear stare. And that's what this whole series has been about, really, is activating this, okay? I'm not that eloquent today. Let's make him smilier. He's smirking. I'm not that eloquent today. You know, I'm not at my best, really. I know I look great, but personally, you know, I've been going through a lot and trying to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. Whether it be continuing to do, you know, more and more YouTube stuff, which, you know, I'm going to continue with in the time being, as well as some podcasts and stuff like that. So please do check me out on Patreon. I've got a bunch of free stuff over there. I've got release exercises and things like that you can check out, that if you're a patron, or even if you just hit me up, I'll send them to you. But all that stuff is there on Patreon. So please do check that out when you get a chance. Patreon.com/BootsyGreenwood. Now, let's talk about the Care Bear stare. That's what this entire series has really been about. We've talked about the plate, right? And look at that. It comes off the back of the head. This is a a way to perceive, right? Look from here, see yourself, right? From behind yourself. But look exactly where that flows through, right through the heart. And I've touched on that before. But not too long ago, somebody asked me what to do if they had a tendency to worry. Let's say they had a tendency to worry about their son, their daughter, whoever that they're worried about. And that's a really good question, but that's where this can come in very, very handy. And it's a valuable tool to think about when dealing with other people as well as just ourselves. So one exercise that I really, really like, and it's helped me tremendously. Whenever I get like I am today, I like to lay down, relax, even if I'm not like I am today. Like most days I wake up in bed and then I practice this because there is a huge flow of energy that goes right through your chest, okay? It just so happens that you have a heart beating there too, right? But this energy, it does flow. It's like in and out. But anyway, if you are tempted to worry about someone or something, what I recommend is thinking about them or really anybody else and how much you actually love that person. You could think about a pet. You could think about a romantic partner, a friend, a parent, someone who's here and someone who's not here, somebody who's passed away, somebody who's living, but someone that you just have love for. And I have many, many people in my life. I'm so blessed that I have many people in my life that I can literally wake up and think about and instantly just bring a tear to my eye. You know, I'm super fortunate for that. So that always sparks me whenever I can think, whenever I can find that place in between stimulus and response and activate this principle instead of being like, you just lost all this money and just like throwing stuff out the window, which is tempting. All this work I've done, for 3 years I built this business. It's not my first business either, but it's been the one that I've had success with and was going to use to build a foundation with. Alas, no. We get down into the month where we were just about to have 2 huge months. I was going to continue and work on another couple of projects, buy a new car, pay some stuff off, etc. Right? Like I had it all planned out how I wanted to do it in my mind, and then this happened. So here I am. Circumstances aren't going to allow me to do what my plan was. And what do they say? When you make plans, God laughs. Exactly, right? And that's why it's really important, because the stimulus is like, well, I'm going to do this and this is my plan. And the response from the world is, well, things have kind of changed, right? Like the way you thought that was going to happen, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Now, that doesn't mean you can't still accomplish your goal. It doesn't mean that I can't reformulate my business. It doesn't mean that I can't find another avenue, which I'm already looking into different ways to do this. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do yet, sure, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other options, right? But think about the person, think about somebody or something that you love so much that it makes you well up inside, and just blast love at them, right? Just send it. Send it, sniper. Send that love, the Care Bear stare style. And instead of worrying about that person and bringing your state down, and then adding this contempt, really, for the universe, now we're adding love to it, and we're beaming love at a specific person, right? And you can beam that love. You can start by thinking about somebody and then think about someone that you're worrying about and send that instead. But very simply, and it's straightforward, and it may even sound silly. I don't care if it does. We're going to be going off the deep end here anyways. But sending that out, even if it didn't work, it still brings you out of that reactive place, right? The space between stimulus and response. And that's a great place to say, you know what? I'm going to activate the Care Bear stare, or whatever you want to call it. I'm going to open up my heart chakra, right? Whatever that is. And I'm going to just let love flow through that channel. Boom, beam it, dude. Shoot it out of there. It's going to make you feel so much better. And it's going to be better than worrying for anybody else, right? Like worrying about something doesn't change the circumstances. That's why I can get a bill, even though we've lost thousands of dollars in the past 2 months, and I get a bill and I'm like, okay, I'll either pay it or I won't, because what difference does it make if I worry and stress about it, right? Like, of course, I want to be in a good position financially and smart about my decisions. But at the same time, if you're in a position that you can't do anything or you don't have very good options, or it's challenging, well, I mean, freaking out and throwing a tantrum, get it off your chest is fine. But like, if you stay in that energy and try to solve the problem, what is it that Einstein says? You can never solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it, right? So if you're there and you're in reactive mode, you're in that level of consciousness and you're reacting directly to the problem instead of opening up to possibility and saying, okay, what can I do? How can I get to where I would like to be? What are some potential different scenarios and options that I have? And then taking one of those routes instead of just absolutely succumbing to whatever information or stimulus that you are reacting to. Instead, take a rest, take a beat, take a breath. If you got to freak out, get it out of your system, deal with it. Don't just bury it, but then come back to it and say, okay, what can I do? How can I put myself in a favorable position? What is a healthy way for me to deal with this? For me, it might be sitting down and writing a bunch of jokes about it. That is helpful for me. I deal with a lot of this quote unquote negative situations by making up jokes and being humorous about it. That's helpful to me. I rock the vaudeville lifeline. That's just how I do it. And so I'll maybe call up a friend and just riff and just start being silly with my buddy. I might call up Jake and just like say something real dumb about eating ice cream at 3 p.m., and the sun's not even down, and how I'm just like packing on the calories for the apocalypse, then again, that might be true. But anyway, I find the Care Bear Stare to be very effective, very simple as well. And I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's something that if you go to gumroad.com/BootsyGreenwood, you will see that there are a couple meditations there. One is called Love Med, and I talk through this process. It's absolutely free for you to download. So feel free to download that. There's also a couple of other free meditations. There's a couple of things that you could buy off of there. And then of course there's Patreon, where you can either support me for like $1 a month or just go on there for free and see some of the podcasts that I share to everyone that are Patreon exclusive, as well as some of the other different comedy shows and different things like that. There's exclusive comedy live streams and things like that I'm doing with my friends over at The Flying Squid, as well as my friends over at Outbreak Open Mic. So thanks very much, guys, for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Write down below, send me a comment. I'd love to see how you guys are all dealing with this, what you're, where are you at in your process, between stimulus and response? What options are you considering? What does your future look like? Because, up until now, I've been pursuing some things. I think I might need to shift some of those. Now, that doesn't mean the essence of what I want is necessarily any different, but the manifestation of it or the way that it looks in physical reality might not be exactly what I personally had in mind. Well, there's no surprise there. We've talked about this 100 times. It never looks like what you think it's going to look like. It never plays out the way you think it's going to play out. I was supposed to have a bunch of comedy shows that were on the books, live comedy shows. And so those didn't happen, but we're doing the online thing. Like I said, we're doing live streams. So it's still just as much fun. It's just a different format. It's just a different form. It's just a different function in physical reality. So keeping all that in mind, rock the Care Bear Stare. Try it out. See what you think. If you're tempted to worry about someone or something, instead think about something you love and put yourself in that position. Because if you're coming from a place of love, if you're coming from a place that's just filled with light and love, then the decision that you're going to make is probably going to be a great decision, but it's certainly not going to be the wrong decision. So thanks, everybody. Patreon.com/BootsyGreenwood. Thanks. Woo!